Hello, and thanks for tuning in to the Biodiesel Magazine podcast. I'm your host, Anna Simet. Hope you're all doing well. Today's episode is going to focus on enzymatic pretreatment. And with me, I have two experts from Novonesis, Mark Bollinger and Mohit Nahata. Mark and Mohit, welcome, and thanks so much for coming on the podcast to chat.
Thanks for having us. Glad to be here.
Yep, I'm excited to join the conversation.
Absolutely. I think maybe, Mark, let's just start with the basics. For listeners who may not know Novonesis, can you introduce the company?
Yes, absolutely. Yep, Novonesis, we're a world-leading biosolution provider specializing in industrial enzymes and microbes across many different industries, used across segments and industries such as food and beverages, human health, household care, agriculture, biofuels and energy technology, and also oils and fats, which we're talking about today. It was formed, Novonesis is formed from the merger of Novozymes and Christian Hansen roughly 2 years ago, and now we operate globally with about 10,000 employees. Our overarching purpose is to use biology to solve humanity's most challenging problems. We leverage the power of microbiology, which is our microbes and enzymes, with science, and we transform the way the world produces, consumes, and lives.
All right. Thanks for that great introduction. And, I think before we get into things more, maybe both of you, could you share your individual roles at Novonesis?
Yeah, for sure. I'm a senior account manager at Novonesis. I work directly with our vegetable oil and renewable diesel producers, customers, to help them improve their processes. We help them with their challenges, whether it's in pretreatment or optimization, the plant economics. We support the implementation of enzyme-based solutions. And me personally, I support our entire oils and fats industry for North America. And I've been working in this industry since 2015, and I've been working in Novonesis since 2004.
Yeah, and then I can follow. So I'm a senior scientist in technical services, supporting renewable fuels and the edible oil refining sector, running lab evaluations, assessing feedstock behavior so that we can help customers actually integrate enzymes into their existing processes and guiding optimization through trials and ongoing support. So I joined the company Novonesis almost a year ago, but before that, I was a research scientist in the renewable diesel industry, specifically focusing on feedstock pretreatment.
Okay, great. Thank you, guys. So let's talk about pretreatment. Mohit, why is this such a critical step for renewable diesel producers?
That's a great question. So pretreatment is essential because most feedstocks that we want to process, right, these fats, oils, and greases, be it like used cooking oils, animal fats, what have you, they contain a variety of contaminants. These include things like metals, phosphorus, free fatty acids, chlorides. Sometimes some of these will have waxes and chemical additives. So these impurities are actually quite they're quite problematic in the sense that they can deactivate catalysts which help in the conversion downstream. They can cause corrosion in the units and lead to fouling of heat exchangers and guard beds. So the conversion process, which is called hydroprocessing, it requires extremely low impurity levels. For example, in many cases, phosphorus in the feedstocks must be reduced from about 100 ppm to about as low as 2 to 3 ppm to protect the catalyst life and to maintain the operations in a reliable fashion. So better pre-treatment directly translates into fewer shutdowns. It means a longer life for the catalysts and eventually a more profitable operation.
Okay, very well explained, Mohit. So, Mark, many producers rely on traditional methods like chemical degumming and bleaching. What challenges come with those approaches?
Yeah, so the traditional approaches usually involves the chemical degumming, which is citric acid and sometimes caustic. We refer to these as acid degumming or special degumming, or sometimes super degumming. And this is followed by a bleaching earth treatment. These chemicals, along with the water, help to bind and remove the metals and phosphorus. These metal impurities are then removed with a centrifugation and washing steps. The bleaching earth consumption and disposal is a significant economic pain point because the bleaching earth becomes a solid waste stream once you're done with it. The spent bleaching earth can also retain 30 to 40% of its weight in the trapped oil, which is the product you're trying to make, resulting in significant yield losses when you dispose the bleaching earth. The bleaching earth also has a disposal and safety challenge. For example, the bleaching is done at high temperatures, and the spent bleaching earth then can pose a fire hazard under some conditions. So the cost impacts include you need to buy for bleaching earth, you need to buy the bleaching earth. You also lose some of your valuable oil product into the solid waste, into the bleaching earth. And then finally, you need to pay to dispose of the bleaching earth as a solid waste. And these three factors combined make bleaching a significant cost to producers. So what we'll talk about a little bit further is how the enzymatic processes can actually help reduce and improve on the overall process, reduce the bleaching earth cost.
Okay, thanks, Mark. So let's shift to enzymatic pretreatment. Mohit, how does this technology work?
Yep. So our enzymatic solution for renewable diesel is a product we offer called quarter low P. It's an enzymatic solution and is a true drop-in technology. So which means that the producers don't need to make any capital investment or don't need any equipment changes. They just simply need to dose the enzyme into their existing degumming process. One of the big advantages of the enzyme is that it works under mild conditions like low temperature and atmospheric pressure, making it very easy to integrate with the existing setup. So I'll explain somewhat more about the enzyme. So the enzyme is a phospholipase, meaning that it reacts with the phospholipids within the oil, which is one of the main sources of phosphorus within these oils and fats. Through an enzymatic hydrolysis reaction, it converts a portion of these impurities into valuable products and makes the rest easier to separate. And the benefits are actually quite substantial. So the producers can reduce their bleaching earth consumption by up to 65%, and their citric acids can use by 70%, which results in millions of dollars in annual savings for a typical renewable diesel plant.
Okay, thanks, Mohit. Mark, why don't you walk us through how you support producers who want to adopt enzymatic pretreatment?
Yeah, for sure. So we start really by just talking with customers to understand their challenges and their goals and their needs. From there, can go in different directions, but often we'll do some lab trials to confirm how the technology works with their particular feedstock blends, and also predict the enzyme performance and work up value propositions specifically for the customer. We'll also, in many cases, explore a range of parameters to find the best operating conditions for their particular process in various scenarios. We'll recommend operating conditions for the enzyme. We'll work with the customers to actually implement the dosing of the enzyme into the existing process. So going out to the plants, looking specifically at their equipment, figuring out how to integrate in the most efficient way the enzyme into their process. We have most of the time, drop-in solutions that don't require a lot of modification to their plants. From there, we'll support, we have a technical team to support the plant trials. We often go from the lab trial, we'll go into the plant trial. We'll support the plant trials, hands-on out in the field with the customers, provide the on-site assistance. Like I said, with our team of engineers and scientists, we also can pull in expertise from our global teams as needed. We have comprehensive analytical and optimization support. We'll continue to support plant trials, whether they go for weeks or even months in some cases, which is needed to really validate the stability and all the benefits for the producer to evaluate. And we validate the value propositions based on the collaborative trials with the customers. And then even after the trials are completed, we'll support long-term the enzyme supply with any technical support, further optimization or fine-tuning of the process.
Okay, perfect. Thanks for walking us through that. So as an emerging technology in this space, enzymes still come with misconceptions. Mohit, what myths do you often encounter?
Yeah, that's an interesting one. So that's right, that the enzymes, there is still a fair amount of misconception in this space. So I'm happy to provide some clarity. So for example, like basically a common myth associated with enzymes in this space is that it works well only for soybean oil. That's not true at all. It works for all vegetable oils, for example, canola, sunflower, and so on. And it also works well for tallow, animal fats, distillers corn oil, used cooking oil, and other waste greases, what have you, right? So we've shown strong performance across both crude as well as degummed oils. Another misconception is that the enzymes are required in large amounts or maybe cost prohibitive. That's also not true. So in reality, they are just dosed in ppm levels, which is basically parts per million. So which effectively translates to about a teaspoon of enzyme per barrel of oil. Then one more myth is that the enzymes are a niche use case in that space. And that's also not true because we have more than 100 plants operating on the enzymatic degumming solutions worldwide today. So it's a very robust and consolidated solution. So today it is more often used in vegetable oils, but the efficacy is also being shown and proven in feedstock blends for renewable diesel. And basically, one more final myth is that some assume that the enzymes are living organisms, which they are not. They're actually just proteins, which are very safe to use and dispose of, unlike some chemicals, which can be aggressive or hazardous.
Okay, very well explained. One more question, Mark, before we start wrapping up. Can enzymatic pretreatment be used for both renewable diesel and SAF?
Yes, so enzymatic pretreatment works well for both the sustainable aviation fuel or SAF and renewable diesel. So it's flexible. The enzymatic technology that is flexible across a wide range of feedstock blends. And it also fits seamlessly into both types of production pathways, whether it's a SAF or renewable diesel. The SAF and renewable diesel are, differ in their composition, but the pretreatment process is essentially the same. So enzyme process works easily well for pretreatment for either process.
All right. So you guys, where can listeners go to learn more?
So you can visit our website, novonesis.com. That's Novonesis.com. Or you can also search the Novonesis and renewable diesel. You will get to the website. And of course, you can also contact us directly. My email is mkbo@novonesis.com. And Mohit is mohna@novonesis.com.
Well, that's perfect. Mark, Mohit, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your insight. It has been very much appreciated.
Oh, thanks for having us. We had a great discussion.
Yes, thanks very much for having us.
Yes, it was our pleasure. And to our listeners, check out more of our podcasts at biodieselmagazine.com under the events tab. Be sure to watch for upcoming episodes. Thank you so much for tuning in. Until next time.